ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Mr. Karl Urban.
Oi, how you lot doing, all right? Good to see you here today. Thank you so much for coming out. All right, lots to discuss. Lots to discuss.
Lots to discuss, indeed. Karl, should we just start with the boys?
Why not? You guys want to start the boys? I'm looking forward to seeing the final season. You guys ain't ready. This shit is off the Richter scale, I'll tell you that.
April 8th on Prime Video, can't come soon enough. I want to go back to season 1, even before season 1 development. How did this project initially get pitched to you? Did you audition for Billy Butcher? Can you talk about the origins of your involvement with the boys?
Yeah, I was actually, I was at home and I remember I was reading the trades and I saw that Tony Starr had been cast in this project called The Boys. And I was like, ooh, that's an interesting title. And then I clicked on and I read it. And then I read the synopsis of it and I thought, damn, that sounds really, really cool. And then, just a couple of weeks later, I got an email from my agent saying, I've got this offer, and are you interested? I went, yeah, flip that over, I'll read that script. I read it and immediately fell in love with the character of Butcher. Loved the writing, loved the satirical tone of the whole thing. I loved that it was offering an audience something that hadn't been done before, you know, as far as superheroes go. Hancock aside, I guess. But yeah, right. But I was immediately like, just the tone of it. It was graphic in nature and just great characters, like really well-written characters. And I thought, yeah, I want to be a part of it. So I went and met with Kripke and the rest of history.
Amazing. 5 seasons later, everyone. And a couple spin-offs too. The boys' world is ever expansive. So you read that Tony was involved from the get-go. When you joined, how much of the ensemble was filled out?
I'm not too sure, actually. I mean, a few roles. They had to cast the suits earlier because they had to make the super suits, which was quite a protracted process. So, yeah, I think anyone who was in one of those monkey suits, a bit longer.
Yeah, I asked because your camaraderie with Jack Quaid over these 5 seasons, guys, make some noise for Jack Quaid. The Butcher-to relationship is just amazing to see that fleshed out. How early were your chemistry reads with Jack?
We didn't have chemistry reads. We literally turned up and the first bit of chemistry was Jack and myself in a bar called the Dog's Bollocks in Toronto. Yeah, he was, you know, he was quite green at that stage and he pretty rapidly became like the little brother I never had, and he's just such a gentleman. He's a lovely, lovely guy, and I'm so blessed to work with not only him, but that entire cast. I mean, we really got on so well, and you know, we're just incredibly grateful for the whole experience. We're very tight. You know, when you spend 5 years with, well, actually over 9 years, but 5 seasons with a group, and you're working up in Toronto in the depths of over there, you get pretty close. And COVID, of course, we went through a pandemic. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, so it was good fun.
I remember that first season. How many of y'all binge watched The Boys from the get-go? That first season was so special. I got a little territorial with my friends. I was like, this is the greatest show ever. No one knows about it. And it takes on this life of its own, multiple seasons, multiple spin-offs. It became its own, effectively, cinematic universe. When you guys were making season 1, did you feel like you had what it would become in those early days of production?
I don't think any of us really had, you know, any great expectation. Of course, when you go into something, you always hope that it is, you know, going to be successful and that it finds an audience. We knew the quality of the writing was super smart and that it was character-driven, but I guess it wasn't really until the show came out and then we were, you know, at the beginning of sort of making season 2, and all of a sudden those locations that we used to, you know, go to and shoot, you know, we would draw a bit of crowd, and you know, it was really kind of the first sort of indication that we were onto a bit of a rocket ship.
Yeah, very much so. 5 seasons later, guys, it's so wild. Is there a specific episode that you recall shooting that just stands out amongst the rest?
Oh man, I mean, there's so many. You know, the whale episode in season 2, it was one of my favorites. You know, we shot that out in the lake in Toronto, and poor Jack Quaid was up the front of the boat. It's not a fun place to be,
No.
but he had to be there. And so we did a few runs, and I'm like full throttle, and it's bumpy because there were sort of waves, and so we're actually getting air, and you know, everyone was having a great time, except Jack Quaid. And he's like, you know, I looked at the end of the second or third run, and it was just a little bit not looking great. And he goes, you know, do you think you could slow down a bit? I'm like, yeah, sure, I could do that. What do we, I'll give you a safety word. And I said, listen, when you say, Karl, I'll throw back at him, okay? He's like, great. So we start the next run. We're barreling, and I'm full throttle. And apparently he's up there screaming at the top of his lungs, Karl! But he's facing the other way, so I can't hear him. I've got an engine roaring at the back. We get to the end of this run, and the kid is white, and he is like a ghost. And I felt terrible. I went, what did you call out? He goes, I did, I wasn't. And he was, I've got this photo of him where he's just in this state, and then there's Laz, who's comforting him. And Laz is giving me like a million wattage stink eye. And he's like, looking at me like, you asshole. And it was like, honestly, so anyway, we swapped Jack out for one of the crew members who had a ball. So there's a couple of shots there that was his double. So but anyway, that episode was a lot of fun. Paragasm, that was a lot of fun. Enjoyed that. They really went for it. It was, you know, it was really quite extraordinary to walk onto the set of that scene, and like it was COVID, and you know, so you know, we were all very vigilant about sanitizing our hands and stuff, and I saw a hand sanitizer bottle on the side of the set, and I thought, oh, I better sanitize my hands as you do it, and I went over there, a couple of pumps. It wasn't hand sanitizer. Who puts real lube on a fucking set? What the fuck was thinking?
There's never a boy's story I hear that just doesn't fail to make me just burst into tears. That's insane. We talked about, you know, your camaraderie with Jack Quaid, but we also talked about Tony as well. Like, the relationship between Butcher and Homelander, guys, come on. It is the foils that you two are and the way that you've evolved over the course of 5 seasons. And I also, if I'm not mistaken, he's a good friend.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so what was it like to develop that dynamic opposite Anthony, and how did it evolve over the course of 5 seasons?
Yeah, well, we actually knew each other from New Zealand, so it was just a sort of a wonderful opportunity to, you know, collaborate on this project together. But, you know, our characters only very rarely came together, maybe once a season if we were lucky. And that was some of my most favorite things to shoot. Butcher typically, for most of those scenes, doesn't do a lot of the talking, he just lets Homelander go for it and the word salad. But I did like that in season 3, Scorched Earth or Scorched Earth scene, where they make the deal. And if you watch season 5, there's a little comeback on that one. So stay tuned. Yeah, stay tuned.
And a lot of great cast members have been added to The Boys over the course of those 5 seasons. You have great scenes with Jensen Ackles, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. How has it felt to add new cast members? Because obviously the season 1 crew is so tight, but does it feel like the family just grows every season?
Yeah, totally. You know, it was such a blast having Jensen come in season 3, and then of course Jeff, who I have huge admiration and respect for Jeff's work. And not that I hadn't for Jensen, I just hadn't seen it. But Jeff I was a big fan of, obviously from his work on Walking Dead and Watchmen and stuff, and so he's just cool as shit. And just to get the opportunity to, you know, go to toe-to-toe with him, and we're very, very similar in the way we approach the work, and he's a good cat.
And you get to also live in a character this long. If I'm not mistaken, Butcher must be your most tenured character. You probably spent the most amount of screen time as Butcher compared to anyone else who played.
Okay.
Yeah. So with that in mind, is there anything that you added to Butcher as an actor in terms of like collaboration with Erica as a writer? Like, is there anything that you put of your own specific Karl Urban spell on Butcher?
Listen, yeah, I mean, I think it's just generally with acting, you know, it's very much, I view it like these characters are an extension of myself with the volume, you know, set at different levels, and Butcher's no exception to that. You know, we were all really blessed working on The Boys because Eric Kripke is such a wonderful collaborator. You know, the way the process would work is that he'd send you the draft, you would read it, and you'd come up with some thoughts and ideas, and you'd email them back to him. And, you know, so began this sort of this process. And, you know, all of the cast members benefited from that. You're able to inject and infuse, you know, their kind of own essence into the character. And, you know, a lot of Butcher came about that way. A lot of it was stuff that I developed on set. Stuff working with my dialect coach, particularly in season 2, Andrew Jack, who I'd actually worked with on Lord of the Rings. And he came up with these wonderful kind of colloquialisms. But sadly, we lost it to COVID. So that was, yeah, it was devastating. But it was just, you know, at the end of the day, a really wonderful process, you know, yeah.
Yeah, when the actor gets to collaborate, it makes it all the more authentic too, which is really special. Butcher is obviously a central character to The Boys. There are a few storylines that you don't at least have one foot in, but still as an audience member, are there any storylines that Butcher's not involved in specifically that you enjoy watching as an audience member?
Oh wow, I mean, I enjoy, you know, watching, you know, anything that I'm not in. That's true story. My favorite Lord of the Rings movie, Fellowship of the Ring. It is. I watched that over and over again on the plane. No, definitely. I just love watching everybody else's work. You know, it's such a talented group of people, and you know, I love them all, from, you know, Tony to Chase Crawford to his deep stuff is hilarious. I love that.
Should we talk a little season 5?
Listen, I be careful. I don't want to, you know, do any spoilers.
No spoilers.
Talk about that scene when Homelander goes up and destroys the international space.
Anyway, season 5 is the final season of The Boys proper, but we obviously know spin-offs are still ongoing. Still, for you, did it feel final, that last day on set for The Boys season 5?
Yeah, it felt great. I mean, obviously it's bittersweet, you know, we're going to miss each other, but I feel really happy with where we left it. You know, we're not a show that I think wants to outstay its welcome. We're going to want to go out on top, and you know, I'm just super excited for you guys to see, you know, where this is all headed. You know, it's been sort of the show has been like a fuse. It's been lit. It's been heading towards the dynamite for 5 seasons now, and yeah, you're gonna get it, that's for sure.
April 8th, Prime Video, y'all. It's gonna be big. I don't want to ask you any specific plot questions about season 5. I just want to give you the opportunity to possibly tease anything that we're gonna get.
Yeah, sure. I can talk a bit about Butcher for sure. Like at the end of, you know, the last season, he's kind of given himself over to this V-powered organism that's within him. So, you know, in the year that, you know, since we last saw Butcher, he's really kind of learned to master that power. So this season, he's the most dangerous, formidable version of the character. He's sort of almost a split personality. You know, when he utilizes his power, he kind of goes into like a Terminator mode almost, and he's just badass. And then the rest of the time, he's sort of really, you know, sort of, I guess, the leader of the boys is trying to sort of also struggling to sort of hold on to the last vestiges of his humanity, and that is, you know, ultimately why he has Huey there, and you know, the first thing they do, no spoiler, is try and get the boys out of jail, out of their internment. So, yeah, it's first episode. Oof, sucker punch. I'll tell you that right now. That's all I'm gonna say.
Lots to look forward to in the world of Karl Urban this year, because if I'm not mistaken, we got a pretty big movie coming out this year.
Got a movie coming out, Mortal Kombat 2, you guys see it?
If you were just wearing sunglasses right now, paired with this leather jacket, like, this is Johnny Cage.
Come on.
This is Johnny Cage. You were one of the fan favorite choices to play Johnny Cage leading up to the casting. Were you aware of the groundswell that people wanted you to play Johnny Cage?
No, I was not aware.
You didn't see any of the fan art or anything?
No, I did not. No, I didn't. I didn't even know that. So that's pretty amazing. No, I came off the back of season 4 of The Boys, and I just had some fuel in the tank. I just, you know, I spent as Butcher most of the season dying of cancer, and it wasn't really like a heavy sort of action-orientated season for me. And usually when I finish the season of The Boys, I'm like, I just want to go sit on the beach, you know, hang with my family, my friends, and just relax. And but this one, I got to the end of the season, I'm like, yeah, I feel like I could go back to work, you know. And so I called my agent and said, you know, listen, if you have anything, I'm ready to work, you know, I'd love something with some action in it. And for my sins, that's what they gave me. A couple of weeks later, I said, what about this? And they sent me the script, and I loved it. This script, written by Jeremy Slater, first of all, it's the best version of Mortal Kombat that I think's ever been committed to cinema. Like, you guys are in for a treat. Like, this movie kicks ass, seriously. Secondly, the story of Johnny Cage through this is so cool. It really is kind of like an origin story in many ways. When we first see Johnny Cage, he has no powers. The world has forgotten who he is. He's at an absolute low, like he goes to a convention and there's like nobody in his line and nobody. There's a super sad sort of state of affairs, and it's in this very juncture that Sonya and Raiden come to him and tell him that he's in Mortal Kombat and they need him to save the world. At which I just thought was genius, because he's neglected his martial arts training, and he's just at rock bottom, and he gets thrown into this world, and it's a rocket ship of a ride from there. I can tell you that. You're in for a treat.
The last time we spoke in person was make some noise for Mortal Kombat.
You've got to see this on the big screen. I mean, it is. If you've seen the first Mortal Kombat movie, like that Japanese garden sequence in there, and just the beautiful quality of that, the whole movie of Mortal Kombat 2 is that good. So, yeah.
The last time we spoke in person was at New York Comic Con when we were promoting Mortal Kombat 2 very early in advance. Always a good sign when a film is doing press that early. And you were with your whole cast. And it seems like you guys are just best friends behind the scenes. What was it like to build the camaraderie with the Mortal Kombat 2 cast?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Again, really blessed. Like the boys, just a super great fun, extremely talented group of people. We worked hard. We were training with our amazing stunt team and our fight coordinating team. We were all invested a lot of time and energy into getting it right. We get together and play Mortal Kombat in our off days. It was just it was fun. It's so cool to have this other life and this other family going on, and it was a big commitment. Like I trained solidly for over 3 months to learn the sort of skill set that was needed for Johnny Cage, and definitely it was probably one of the biggest challenges that I've ever had technically of my career. But I was in good hands with the team, and pretty happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see the action sequences you guys put together for this one. Could you talk about your research process when it came to getting familiar with Johnny Cage, knowing what he was about, and also his specific skill set, his move set that you wanted to incorporate into the character?
Yeah, well, it was the process for me, obviously, first and foremost, started with the Holy Grail, and that is the games. And I used to play the games, one specific game with my kids, which is NKX. It was it's a great game. Bit of frustrating playing with them because they'll just kick my ass. Yeah, so obviously I dived into all things Johnny Cage and Mortal Kombat and the lore and stuff, and sort of looked at sort of how that sort of worked in relationship to the script and the character that was written in the script, which was a little bit different in terms of the fact that he was a character at rock bottom. So, you know, a lot of that bombastic, ego-fueled Johnny is not there initially. You know, it takes a bit for that to ramp in. So that was fantastic. And then I actually went to karate tournaments and watched young kids and families and sort of up to sort of young adults in tournaments. Which I found fascinating, just to see, especially the families, like, you know, imagining the backstory of Johnny Cage and where he, you know, came from, and just to sort of see that culture and, you know, experience that. So that was a door that went through. Obviously the training, I, you know, started just with real basic stuff, with movement, had to learn how to move, and then obviously into the different sort of specific patterns and fight patterns that we had for Johnny, and work with the stunt team, and yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like the marketing for this movie is going to be super unique, because my boss got shipped a Johnny Cage VHS tape,
Right.
if I'm not mistaken. So, do you already have like cool concepts of how you're going to help promote this movie in terms of things you could do as in-universe Johnny Cage?
I'll leave that up to the marketing team, and you know, it's really, you know, the thing I love about this movie, one of the things I love is we shot this Uncaged Fury, I think it was, sort of movie within a movie, and I had this sort of all the classic Johnny Cage gear on, and that day all the cast came out to watch it, which was a little horrifying, but super fun. And I don't know if you've seen, there's a bit of that that's actually come out already. So, yeah, no, I'm really excited to get into that and get the movie out there.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Mortal Kombat coming up this summer. I got some miscellaneous questions for you as well.
Oh, miscellaneous questions.
For starters, Star Trek. I read that Star Trek was like your white whale, like it was a franchise that you wanted to be in specifically. What about Star Trek just fascinated you as an actor?
Well, it was not entirely accurate. I heard that they were making it, and I did just want to be a part of it, because it was something that I used to watch as a kid with my dad, and always enjoyed the original series. And it's not that it was on my hit list, I have to do this, but when I heard they were doing it, I'm like, yeah, I'd like to be a part of that. And so I went and had a meeting with J.J. Abrams, which went horrible, I thought. It went terrible. I go in there and I sit down and a little bit of chit-chat. We cracked a joke about Don Monahan from Lord of the Rings, who he just killed and lost, and I congratulate him, so that's the best thing he did. And then he said, so yeah, you know, Star Trek, and he talked a little bit about it, but he said, listen, do you have any questions? I went, yeah, what's the story? You know, what's the movie about? And he goes, I can't tell you. And I'm like, oh. I was like, ah. Well, I guess I've got no other questions. I mean, in my mind, like, I knew what Star Trek was. I knew the relationship of the central characters and the triumvirate and how it all worked. And so we just sat there and kind of dumbly looked at each other. And I said, well, thanks for coming. And well, thank you. And I left, and I was like, oh, stupid. I could have thought of a question, but yeah. And then we got a call from them a few weeks later saying that JJ would love to invite you into audition for the role of Bones. I went, great, send me the script, I read it, I went in there, got in there, chatted for a little bit more about killing Dom, and then I started doing the scene, and I was like about a third of the way through the scene, and I hear this laughter. What the hell is that? And I just suddenly realized, and then oh, he's laughing at me. Oh, he likes what I'm doing. And like within the space of doing that, I almost completely froze on my line of dialogue. Like it took the biggest pause, but then finished it and he goes, yeah, that's it, that's Bones. And he sort of turns to April Webster and Brian Burke as producing partners, and they were nodding effusively, and I'm like, okay, well, that's a good sign. He goes, I guess you got to do it again. I did. They said, see you later. And I was literally, I hadn't even been out of the room like an hour, and I got the call, you're in. I'm like, yeah, so, you know, it's just, it's a great feeling when you go into a situation and you do the best you can do and you get that instant positive feedback. So, you know, I was in cloud nine, you know.
Yeah, and it's clear that the relationship with JJ must have only improved because, if I'm not mistaken, you got a cameo in Rise of Skywalker as a stormtrooper?
Yes, I did. Nice as rain.
Well, how did that come to be? How did that story come together?
I was in the UK and they were shooting and I went by set and he goes, you want to be a stormtrooper? And I went, yeah. So they put me in this thing and yeah, and the rest is cinematic history.
What scene is it, if we're going to go back and watch Rise of Skywalker?
Well, he's standing in the stormtrooper, which is standing in the Star Destroyer when Kylo Ren walks past and there's two of them and there's all the Knights of Ren following behind them.
Yeah, that's how we find Karl in Star Wars. You know, you've been in Star Wars, you've been in Star Trek, you were Scourge the Executioner in Thor Ragnarok.
I'm a bit of a franchise Swiss Army knife at this point.
But I have Dread. We've got a Dread mention out there. Are there any franchises left? Is there any that you have your eye on?
It could be greedy to ask for any more franchises. No, look, you know, I never know what I want to do until that script sort of comes across my table. I just like to do different things, you know, and you know, this year is a great example because you go from The Bluff, which is on Amazon Prime, thank you, played a notorious pirate, to Billy Butcher and the Boys, and then to Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat. And all three of those characters are quite distinctly different. So I feel pretty blessed in the regard that I have that sort of that versatility and that opportunity to be able to do that. So that's what I'll be looking for next, something that I haven't done before.
Yeah, you get a lot of great singular projects in your career too, the one-off projects. What is the one that it just means a little bit more to you when someone says, oh, I loved you in this, I loved you in that?
Dread means a lot to me, for sure. Thank you, yeah. Thank you. It's sort of, you know, it was a $30 million film that we shot in South Africa. We didn't have the budget that some of these bigger films have, and it was a lot of fun to shoot. And I really love how it's become this sort of cult classic. You know, I think it was a little ahead of its time. I don't think it was marketed particularly well, and you know, also, you know, unluckily for us, The Raid had just come out before it, which is a very similar story and structure. And even though they shot their movie after we shot ours, they came out before us. Yeah, but I just, you know, I didn't read many comics growing up, but Judge Dredd was one that I did read. And so just as they had the opportunity to do a version of that, it was super special to me. And, you know, I just, going forward, regardless of my involvement or not, I'm just looking forward to seeing more Dredd because there's so many incredible stories that John Wagner wrote. You know, and I still don't think the world of Dredd has been done, you know, really kind of accurate to what those comics were. And I think with today's technology, I would love to see a version of it where, you know, they do some real world building and you can do so much more these days. So I just want to see more Dredd.
Yeah, more Dredd would be cool. You've worked with so many great actors over the course of your career. Is there a memorable note that you've gotten at some point in your career that still sticks with you?
Oh, many. Don't suck. I don't think I've got that one yet. Oh no, I actually did. I think JJ might have said that to me. He's fun like that. No, listen, I mean, you know, many, well, actually, I remember speaking of JJ, I pitched him the line about, you know, because in the script that we read, there was nothing about, no reference to how McCoy gets his nickname, Bones, and so I pitched him like, it would be great to have this line when he's talking about his ex-wife, that for him to say, all I got left is my bones. And he goes, okay, cool, we'll try it. So we shot it without it, and then we shot a take or two with it, and he loved it. And I went up to him afterwards, and I said, well, yeah, what do you think? You like it? He goes, I've drunk the Kool-Aid now, so we're in. So yeah, I'm very appreciative of the fact that he also was a very collaborative filmmaker. Another great note, Paul Greengrass, Born Supremacy. Yeah, I think it's a good movie. There's a scene where Karl, my character, is just shot at Jason Bourne, and I've gone over the bridge in their Jeep, and I come onto the bridge and I sort of touch the railing as I lean over and see if I can see them. And he comes up to me at the end of the first take and he goes, that was great, this time around, don't touch the bridge. I'm like, okay, sure. And then I thought about it, and I was like, oh. And I said, hey, Paul, why shouldn't I touch the bridge? And this is a great note and a great director. And he thought about it for a second and he said, because you're not part of this environment. Touching the bridge connects you to the environment. You're like a shark swimming through. Thank you. Best note ever, and that was really kind of, you look even the movement of that character, that is the note that just encapsulated it for me.
Great stories. We're just about out of time, but I got one last boys-related question for Karl. Karl, you can punt if you must. Can you reveal the first word of dialogue you say in The Boys Season 5?
It's probably more of a question of can I remember it? I just saw it. I mean, yeah, it might be oi. That might be hello. It might be hello. Yeah.
That's our first big reveal of The Boys Season 5. Thank you guys so much for coming to this video. Before we leave, we're going to do a really quick video. Karl and I are both going to say oi to the phone camera, and then we're going to pan it back to you guys, and everyone's going to go oi. All right?
Down, want to play? Firstly, thanks so much for coming out today. It's so great to be here. Thank you for all your support over the years. It really means the world to me, and I just, I'm blown away coming back here after not being here for a while and just seeing so much love for Lord of the Rings 25 years later. Like, I'm truly astonished, and I really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much, guys. I will be back.
So we're both going to say oi. Everyone just be quiet right now. And then when I pan the camera up, everyone go oi. All right? Oi. Oi.